Alright, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Sweet Strats.
Wait a minute, aren't you going to do your intro?
Yeah, I thought I was going to do the intro. You still want to do the intro yourself?
No, I thought you were going to invite your easily offended friends to play the Chaos in the
That's
Old.
what I was getting to.
Oh!
You stopped me after 2 seconds. 2 sentences.
There's the intro.
Cue the music.
Sweet Strats! Sweet Strats! Are you gaming with me? Sweet Strats! Sweet Strats! Are you gaming with me? Are you gaming with me?
Welcome back to Sweet Strats, the best show on the interwebs. I'm Zach. I'm great.
I'm Jeremy.
I'm Matt.
I'm Harley. This week we have Chaos in the Real World, a.k.a. our sweet strategies for Chaos in the Old World. Man, we've had nothing but problems trying to get this done. Scheduling problems, gameplay problems. How late is this actually? It was supposed to be 2 weeks after the last one, and that was 2 weeks. That was halfway through August when the last one came out. We're, 7 weeks behind?
It's been a crazy couple months.
Probably a month behind schedule, probably.
Yeah. And as you can see from our opening, it is real fun.
We'll edit that out so it sounds free.
Yeah.
We got a pro editor here.
I can't wait to hear this shit. All right. So we have sweet strategies for Chaos in the Old World this week, but before we get to that, we have a couple topics. I'm going to throw it to my man Harley to intro the first one. Well, the first one we're going to talk about is dealing with problem players. Everybody has to deal with these fucking jokers. So I guess we'll start with the one that everybody loves, is the people on their phone. And we have one that we lovingly call the psychic vampire. Thank God they don't play with us. But they play with our good friend Brandon. So how do we deal with people that are on their phones and don't pay attention to the game state and intentionally hold it all up? I don't think that we have anyone like that anymore.
Yeah, we really don't in our group, but I know I see it happen a lot in other groups, in car store and stuff like that. I think my best strategy for them is try to get them involved in some way. Like, start explaining rules directly to them, like use them in examples, try and talk directly to them, make them feel a part of it. And if they still don't respond after that, then, fuck them.
Yeah, I think really the bad part is, like, most of the time that's your friend. Like, we've had people in D&D, and it's like, I can't kick this guy out because I went to junior high with him. Who? Come on. Well, I don't know anybody that would have had a phone back in the day like that.
Whoever it is, they're not listening, so feel free to
no
smear their good name.
So, sweet strat for phone guy, don't play with them.
Yeah.
Cool.
Not the only strat.
Avoid them at all costs.
Yeah, I mean, if they're wanting to pay attention to their phone that much, then they shouldn't be playing board games. They shouldn't be there. Let them go play their phone at the other table.
Yeah, play your phone. I mean, this one's hard. I know we've all had this, is the alpha player for cooperative games, the quarterback. And, I mean, we saw it in our last game with Twilight Imperium, how one guy that actually has full command of what's going on would just dominate other people's turns for him. And they would listen to him because they didn't know any better.
Yeah, this one's kind of hard to avoid. I would say you really gotta try and talk to that person to change their mindset. Just let them, everyone's here to play their own game. Everyone enjoys playing with their own strategy, even if they're shitty strategies. Just let them do their thing. Don't be an asshole and try to take their turn for them, or demean them or anything like that. So I mean, it's kind of hard to do because you got to try and change that person's approach in the game.
Yeah. Now, you're not necessarily always looking for the most optimized move for everybody. You're trying to have a good time. That's the ultimate goal of what we do. Yeah. So you gotta, stress to new players what their options are. Let them also know, and then let the quarterback know that ultimately is that player's decision when it comes down to it.
Exactly.
Here's some things you could do, but you do what you feel is best. You do what you want to do. Whether we win or not.
The one bad thing about that, especially with, like, you have the alpha player, I'm guilty of this, especially when we're playing the cooperative games, is you may, lay out a plan, and then even though you tell the person, hey, it's your decision, it's still kind of,
trumps in the back of their mind that maybe this is the way to go, and most of the time it's probably not.
Yeah, in co-op games, it's not too big of a deal because we're all trying to work together. I mean, as long as like everyone is like open with everything, explaining everything, trying to trying to convince the other players of this is what we're trying to do. I don't have too big of a problem with that. But as long as you're not just like you have to do this right now, or you need to get out.
Yeah, if you're all together there, talking it out, saying this is what we need to look at and focus on. These are our current threats. What can we do? If everybody's engaged, then it's just going to add to the fun of it.
Yeah, I always try to I lay out my thought process, even though that's what I want to do. But I always ask the question, what do you guys think? Especially when we play Ghost Stories. I mean,
a lot of those co-op games. I don't know. Sometimes I need y'all to decide for me. So I'm like, I don't know. There's so much shit's going bad. I don't know what the fuck to do here. I think the only time quarterbacking or alpha player is like the worst is you gotta say when they're completely taking it over and nobody has can make up their own mind of what they're gonna play. When we played that Twilight Imperium, I'd never seen it honestly outside of a co-op game. It's just somebody that saw that people were having it was their first time and they didn't have any idea what they were doing, and so they just immediately took it over. And I would also say to their own advantage because that's exactly what that kid did.
So do you think Jim Jones is the ultimate alpha player?
Well, he is because he got everybody to drink the Kool-Aid. Come on down to Mexico.
We can have a pretty good discussion on that one. Figures through history that are pretty big alpha players.
Oh yeah, we should do that. Who would you want to play TI with?
What's your ultimate TI?
Yeah.
All right, so the next one is I can't power gamers. I'm not exactly sure what you mean by that.
I think like to me the example we play with most here is who's trying to think of the most optimal way to beat or exploit a game.
Okay.
Always I mean I appreciate that to an extent. But he's approaching it from the video game standpoint, to where what can I do to possibly exploit this game to win, beat them, play the game the most optimal way possibly.
Like min-maxing.
Yeah, exactly.
but in analog form.
Yeah. It's the wall hacking equivalent.
And I like those kind of games occasionally, but most of the time, most people are going to play. They want to play board games just to have fun. They don't care if they're doing the best thing every turn. They don't care if they're not really playing to their best. As long as they're having fun, that's what a board game is.
Yeah, because it is a tournament here every weekend.
Yeah. And power gamers come in. They want to win. They want to play optimally. They get mad at people who aren't playing optimally. Stuff like that. I mean, there's kind of with the alpha gamer thing, there's not a huge way to avoid it because you have to kind of try and change their mindset. I mean, that's the way they like to play games. They want a power game. There's nothing really wrong with that, but sometimes that doesn't jive with every group.
Yeah, I think if you have that personality, then you should play with people who want to do that. And if you're not playing people who do that, you need to play to the group. We're here doing a board game strategy podcast, and we're saying, it's just about fun. But part of having fun for some people is competition.
Yeah, exactly.
And part of having fun sometimes is hanging out with your friend and someone won the game.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't know. What game do we ever really play that is competition as far as our setting? I mean, even when we play with our big groups, we're not competition players. We're just there to play a game, whoever wins. I mean, I compete with you guys when we're playing this to try to win, but that's also, to help pull out a better strategy, an actual sound idea other than just, hey, let's play this and whoever wins wins, and everything else is to the win.
Well, it's like if you're playing chess with a Grand Cyclops or whatever they are.
Grand Masters.
Yeah.
How did Masters turn into Cyclops?
Oh, isn't that KKK? Isn't that a Grand Cyclops?
Wizard.
Oh, Cyclops was.
Different character class, man.
Well, anyway, I'm playing with this Grand Cyclops. Smearing you.
Yeah, but he probably wouldn't play with you anyways.
I know, but if you're a Grand Cyclops and your idea of fun is competing, then you probably shouldn't play with casual players. But like when we're playing this, the fun in this is playing against people who know how the game works and want to win, but aren't going to be douchebags if they lose.
Yeah, like I think like once we like games that we've played a lot, that everyone knows what they're doing, that we're not playing it necessarily to just get new strategies. We're playing it to win in a lot of cases. Like stuff like this. Like if we play Chaos in the Overworld again, I want to fucking win. I'm not going to play for other bullshit.
Yeah, I want to.
So for games we played a lot, I think the competitive nature comes out a lot more.
Yeah, heads up, I didn't win any games. I came close twice.
But like a good strategy to counter power gamers, I think, is like try to pick games that have a lot of variable elements to it. Like I think a great example is Cosmic Encounter, where it's like a new challenge every time you sit down. No game is ever the same. Like you're playing with power gamers, that keeps them constantly kind of on the same level as everyone else. Everyone's kind of learning new stuff every time you play.
Well, I know this isn't typical of everybody, but doesn't he try to exploit that game too?
Yeah, but it's hard to do because there's so much wackiness in it.
Maybe with power gamers, you get the games that have more luck strategy to them than anything else. Dice roll mechanic, whatever. So you ain't got to hear it.
Yeah. With games with heavy luck, the power gamer might kind of adopt a more laid back attitude because they really can't control too much.
Yeah. Well, that's definitely ideas. So the next one is the grudge player. I've experienced this firsthand several times, and not just from Brandon. Oh, he's the king of it. He's the first one that ever did that. We were playing City of Horror, and he got up on the water tower. If anybody has ever played City of Horror, if you don't even know what I'm talking about. But let me explain. There is a water tower in City of Horror that lets you see where the zombies are coming to.
Yeah,
isn't that right?
You get to basically you see how they're gonna flow through the board.
So that's pretty powerful. Well, if you don't vote, if Brandon decided that if you didn't vote with him, he would just destroy the water tower. And not only does it destroy the water tower where you can't see this anymore, it would destroy your characters. And in City of Horror, you really need your characters because they're your voting power. So Brandon would screw us a lot. So how do we deal with these besides kicking them right out the damn door? There were several times I wanted to watch him fly through the door. And Alfonso's brother Money, I want to watch him fly through the door a couple times too. Especially when we played Werewolf.
I think that was less of a grudge and him just like not giving a fuck.
I guess that's true too. Yeah, I guess that is, but I still want to watch him fly through the door.
I don't know how to mitigate the grudge player except
be grudgeful against him.
Yeah, or don't play with him.
I mean, I don't know, unless it's beneficial to me, I'm usually not going to go for the revenge. I mean, there's going to be something in it for me. I'm just going to screw with this guy because he got me first, whether it's to any benefit of myself. I don't care. I just want him to get the revenge he deserves. And I like watching it go on.
Yeah.
I like sitting back and watching two players go back and forth when really they're not doing anything for their own game. They're just hindering each other while I shoot right past them. Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think you try and emphasize that to them, that they're just wasting their time and that they're not going to win, they're not doing anything to benefit themselves. And try to convince them to stop doing it that way. I mean, if that still doesn't work, then,
lay back and watch the shit show. Because you're not in it.
But it kind of ruins the game, too, doesn't it?
It kind of spoils the mood. I mean, really, you want to be in competition with everybody at the table, not, watching everybody tear shit apart while you're just going through the motions.
Or like in the werewolf games where it literally lost the game for the other 3 players on the team because of money.
Well, I mean, he wasn't doing that to be grudge. He was just doing that.
Yeah, that's funny. Our other player type that we're going to talk about is the Joker.
The troll
wants to watch the game burn.
But it's kind of, even though the one thing about the grudge player is it does for everybody else is it leaves like an open void for you just to go in to scoop their win up from them. Yeah. And then, that's kind of, whatever. But, I mean, you're going to do it anyways. It's just like, even though when we played Twilight Imperium, that first time, and we 3 were fighting, it wasn't grudge. It's because Zachary wouldn't leave me alone. He wasn't doing it to be grudgeful. He was going, it was wasn't it one of your objectives? And then I forgot what Matt was going to do. Oh, he had a race that was scary, and I screwed him over, but I didn't do it. I did it because I was scared of his race, and we effectively screwed Matt out of the rest of the game. While Jeremy was watching us battle back and forth, he ended up winning.
Yeah, like, Twilight's one of those games to where you're kind of forced to attack some people sometimes. Like, for instance, in that last game we played, Bump had this gigantic army. I couldn't do anything against him, so hey, let's try right next to me. I'm gonna attack him.
I mean,
I need some points.
That wasn't. Those two were working together.
Yeah, I mean, that thing was fucked anyway.
Ooh, I don't know about that little
king-making?
Oh, I hate that. Anyway, we'll talk about that in a second. That just opened my eyes to, what really the grudge does is it just leaves it open for, one or two players to actually be able to play and win. If you can avoid being mad while you're playing, you should do it at all costs. Sometimes you just do like the grudge tick just because, maybe it's funny. But if you really, I think if you really want to hold a grudge, you should think of the long-term con instead of the short-term gain. Because if you can if you can play it out long enough, I think you can hurt somebody a lot more in the game and be like, ha ha ha. Then you can be an asshole and dance around.
I was playing you the whole time.
Yeah. I don't know. Grudge players, you just really shouldn't do it, I don't think. As far as dealing with them, I think you're probably right. Talk to them. And
Step 1, get real.
Yeah. Step 2.
Step 2, get out.
Step 3, don't come back. Unless you got food. All right.
You bring the board games.
Yeah.
You got cool board games.
Just drop them at the door and then go get back in your car. You can pick them up in 2 hours. What about the sore loser? I don't think we've ever really had that.
Through the 2 years we've been playing together, I haven't seen anybody generally get upset about a loss to where, I just haven't seen it.
Yeah, I can't do anything.
I mean, I've been upset that I lost, but it wasn't...
Yeah, I've been disappointed that I was, sometimes really close to being the winner. Because, I'm not super competitive, but I do like to win.
Yeah.
I think I have a fairly decent track record at a lot of the games we play, and I like to be on the winning side. But if I don't, who gives a shit? Had a good time. It's kind of disappointing to be that close to the win. Like one turn away when we were playing Manhattan Project.
Yeah.
Had I had one more turn, it would have been me. But no, he beat me to the punch. But I think that's more interesting, too.
Yeah.
I'd much rather see a really close game.
Yeah, I think the sorest I ever got was last time I played Twilight Imperium, and I got betrayed by Chase, and I gave him those trade goods.
Oh, I told you not to do
and
that.
then he came and attacked me the next round.
I told you not to do that.
And that...
Yeah, but I mean, you didn't get up and call him a fucking bastard and shit like that.
Yeah.
I mean, that...
I wanted to. I was boiling with rage.
That's when you get turned into the grudge player, the revenge player. You know what? Fuck this.
You know what he did? He come and cooked my shit. That's what he did. I was sitting there battling Dave.
Took it out on somebody else.
Yeah, he's like, I can't get Chase. I just couldn't take Harley's home plate. I was like, bullshit.
Yeah, so I think as long as you don't vocalize it, you're cool. You're just a sore loser on the inside.
Yeah, well, that did turn me into the grudge player, because as soon as I get Chase in a board game again, he's done.
Hear that, Chase?
Brandon, make sure Chase is here.
I'm gonna start cutting promos on Chase.
Oh my goodness. Man, I can't imagine what anybody thinks of when we're talking about people that they don't even know.
We're gonna make people start listening.
Yeah.
Are they talking shit about us? Strats?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I've never really seen a sore player. Everybody's been, nobody's gotten up from the table and stomped off.
Yeah, to me, a sore loser would be someone who keeps bringing it up the rest of the night, or the next game. Or
I've never had a sore loser with board games. We've had sore players with D&D.
Oh god, we got a whole podcast on sore loser and D&D.
I could do an entire section about the people that play with you and make you mad.
Yeah, as far as board games, really, we play with cool people.
I think part of that is also because we're older. All the dumb stuff happened when we were in our early 20s.
Well, even
life.
when you guys were kids, I mean, in high school and whatnot, when we were all playing those games.
No one raged, though.
No, and that's what I'm saying. Nobody was ever mad.
Yeah.
I mean, even I can honestly say, even with my group of friends, because I'm 8 years older than these guys, or than two of them, but I I've never seen. I have seen sore losers. I've never had the unfortunate experience of having one with me whenever we were playing some type of game. I mean, I've seen them, of course, but I've never truly experienced one. So, if you've ever had a sore loser, I'm sorry. Got no sweet strats for you.
Sweetstrats@gmail.com. Add Sweetstrats on Twitter. Hit us up.
And tell us your stories.
Send us your sore loser story.
Yeah, definitely. I would actually like to hear some of them because I know some of you got them.
So, I guess with trouble players, talk to them, and if that doesn't work, don't play with them.
Yeah.
Find another hobby.
Yeah, because
play with your friends.
Board gaming, more than any other medium, aside from maybe D&D, requires everyone to have the same mindset going in. Mm-hmm. We're all coming together to play something face to face, which is you don't say that a lot, but definitely without video games or any other medium. So I think everyone has to change their mindset a bit when you play board games.
Just because of how I'll take that back. Let me put a caveat in with store players. I have played with store players on video games a lot. Real life, no.
Alright. The internet's up, guys.
Oh my god, they're the best.
Oh man, back when I had 360 and Gears, we used to play with Heather all the time.
Oh man, yeah.
And if you would do the chainsaw bayonet, she would be like, I'm gonna leave if you do that again. I was like, Heather, it's part of the game. Don't get close enough for me to chainsaw bayonet you.
Yeah.
But
okay, going off on that, just for a second while we go off on this tangent. One time, Brandon and I used to play 360 Gears of War with her and somebody else's over there. There's never Heath. Heath never played. But she'd always run up and grab the sniper rifle on this particular map and, blow Brandon's head off. Well, so one time, he got up there quick. I don't know how he beat her, but he got that sniper rifle and blew her head off. Then he took my damn controller up in the air above his head and spiked that son of a bitch on the ground and said, "That's right, bitch!" And I couldn't be mad. I had to laugh because that was hilarious. And then I was like, he spiked my controller.
Classic Brandon. Always spiking controllers.
Have you played Gears, Jeremy?
Yeah.
Does the board game match the film?
Don't you have it?
I do have it, and I've played 3 solo runs of it, and I'll say they did a pretty good damn job of putting the feel of the game into the board game. Like even stuff like roadie running ahead, getting behind cover. I mean, it's a pretty damn good representation of the game as far as mechanics. And yeah, I think it's a blast, man. Yeah, I haven't played, like I said, I played all the first 3 Gears games to completion, quite a bit of online shit, and they did a really damn good job with it.
Yeah.
Corey Knizia, whatever the hell how you pronounce his name, has a really good track record with me. Another shining example.
Yeah, if you have a 360 and you haven't played Gears, you should play it.
Then why did you get a 360?
Yeah, that's what
a flagship title.
That sold me on it. That roadie run, oh man, that always felt so good. First time you did it.
Everybody remembers their first time.
Well, we went completely off there. But it was good. All right, so our next type of player, the AP players. Now, we have one in our group. He can add some time to you.
You can tack on a half hour pretty easy.
And that's actually, you can actually counter the AP player with another type of problem player in the quarterback.
That's true.
I mean, not so much to where they're always making their moves, but to me, the AP player needs someone to kind of help them suggest things occasionally. Just to kind of make them, if they're not understanding a certain part of it, show them something once, something important that they should be doing, and then they might remember it going forward and maybe speed things up.
Well, I think that in that case, there's 2 different types of AP players. Those who are
that don't understand.
And then those who understand perfectly, and they're trying to play in their head every outcome of their coming move. Yeah. Instead of saying, you know what, this is what I want to do, and I'm going to do it. Damn, your turn.
Yeah, with the second type, back to D&D, especially 4th ed D&D, combats would take forever, and we had to institute a timer because people are looking for the optimal way to kill the kobold or whatever.
And I think, a lot of this, especially with the second type of AP player, a lot of this goes back into the board game mindset that you have to be in. That you're playing with other people are waiting on you, you're doing this, you're in this thing together for the most part, even if you're playing against each other. Sometimes you just gotta go with something. You don't always have to do the most optimal maximum thing you could be possibly.
Yeah. If you are an AP player, figure out how to plan your move as people play.
Yeah.
And have
It's hard with
options.
some games, though.
Yeah, but you just have to be going through it. Go through the options. If this guy goes here, well, here are my options.
I'll give you an example where that's next to impossible is with Five Tribes. That board state changes so much. Okay, you haven't played them. I'm sorry, but when you pick up those pieces, you have to pick up all the meeples and drop them in a certain way, and it changes the board state so much that even the player behind you, you almost can't plan your move until they're complete. I mean, Damon and I, when we played, there were several. Damon would be sitting there, and he's not an AP player, but I mean, we all take time. And after he completed his move, he'd see something, or he'd be like, "I really want, the market guys or the guys." And after he already had done his move, he'd see it. That was just that type. That's just how that game is. But I think that's the only game I've ever seen where it changes so much.
Yeah, I think along with what Zach was saying, I think you're never going to be fully prepared for all the possibilities, but go through as much as you can in your head before you can. So I'm looking to do this. If he does this, I'm going to do this. Then if he does this, I'm going to do that. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
I try to do that as much as I can. But sometimes it's just you're never going to make the most optimal move unless you're sitting there for fucking ever analyzing everything.
That's true.
Especially in some of these games we play.
Oof. Yeah, the longer the game is, the more analysis it'll be.
The first one comes to mind for most recently is Slogan, which is you have 30 different worker placement opportunities every round, and you have just infinite ways of scoring your engine.
Or Caverna.
Same way.
Of them. So AP players, you pretty much got to police yourself. What is there other than what do we do for? I mean, if you just want to encourage them to be faster, what would be something that?
Yeah, the timer is a last resort, but
well, let me just ask you: would you say institute time turns at the beginning? That way you don't single that person out.
Well, yeah, when you do the timer, everyone gets the timer.
No, I understand that, but instead of when you set the game up, be like, there is no timer, but we're going to introduce a timer
rather than mid-game on someone's turn. Hey, guess what? We're now on a timer.
Yeah.
Make up your damn mind so we can get this shit moving.
because Ralph here is taking 30 minutes for his turn.
Yeah, the bad thing about that is then you get people checking out. Then you get people picking up their phone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, we talked about the phone, right?
Yeah.
There's a good one that we've done before where you do the phone stack, and everyone has to stack their phones, and the first one to pick up their phone has to do something you have to. I forget what we did.
We used to. I think when we played D&D before with that, there was some negative impact in the game or something.
Oh yeah.
Oh, you guys did that in D&D?
I think we tried it once, and everybody.
Everyone's bitch.
There's the classic, if you're at a restaurant, everybody stacks their phones, and the first person to check their phone pays the bill for everybody or something.
That's where it's from.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, that's funny. I never heard of that.
# phone stack.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Well, so AP players, you're going to have to deal with them before the game starts, or tell them to buzz off, I guess. All right, now here's the best one. The Joker player, which we have a couple of those. These are guys who they go into the game. They don't care if they win or lose. They just want to ruin the experience for everybody else.
The only strategy for them is not to play.
Yeah, and to ruin.
What is that from War Games?
The only winning strategy is not to play.
Yeah.
Yeah, War Gamers. Oh man, I love that movie. So, excuse me. We were playing a werewolf one time, and one of our players, who we call Money, he decided to act like a werewolf, but he wasn't a werewolf, but he wanted to act like a werewolf, and then we would never vote with him, so we chose somebody else who was a werewolf to always vote with us because we thought he was a villager. In the end, Money was a villager the entire time, just lighting us up the entire game. I've never been so mad in my entire life by playing a game with somebody. He made me boil. Even Brandon's antics, I will forgive pretty quick. When he wants to blow that water tower up, when that's his only move, or that's his destination in the game, or Brandon wants to screw you over because Brandon didn't get his way, I can forgive that.
Or you were the first person to attack Brandon,
Oh.
so now you are his mortal enemy, even though someone else has been attacking him for 4 rounds.
But these guys, man, I don't know what you do with them other than never play a game with them again because that is my stance with money.
The only winning move is not to play.
Yeah, I think most of these problem players, the first step usually is just talk to them and say, hey, you're going to be ruining the experience for everyone if you keep doing this. And if they still don't respond, then there's not much you can say.
Yeah, you're fired.
You're fired. Don't come back.
Hashtag President Trump.
Hashtag go in the living room and play Bloodborne. Get out of here. Oh, you want to play Telestrations? No. You can't even play that.
You're banned from the table.
Yeah, I mean, that's a harsh thing to do, but woo, man, playing with some types of people is just, and here's the number one that I hate, kingmaking. I hate that in built into games, and I especially didn't realize how much I hated it when playing with people at the table. Oh my goodness. It makes me sick. I saw when we played our last game in Twilight Imperium. Oh, I don't even want to invite those two back. That's how bad it was, man. And I'm not that type of person. Usually, even if I don't like you, I will invite you to come play games with us because I know other people like you. And I like one guy, and I sort of the other one was whatever. But I don't even want them back. And of course, I'll invite them back. Probably not for a couple times, but I mean, geez, nothing. Oh, it irritates me.
Like when you see like turn after turn, somebody, they got off to a bad start, they're in last place, and now their mindset is, there's no way I can win, so let me do something that's either fucking over second place or screwing with first place or whatever. At no benefit to their own, just, I can't win, so here, I'm just going to do this, and there you go. Here's your easy win. Yeah, I don't dig it.
I don't, truth is that's the only time I've ever really experienced that. So I guess just like Matt says, is talk to them, but I mean, I will say something if they ever come back to play Twilight Imperium with me. Best believe it, because that made me mad. So mad.
Yeah. That's another one where, you can try your best to maybe recommend different plays to them. They say, like what Jeremy said, I can't do anything else right now, I'm just going to do this. Well, you could recommend other things. You say, you could do this, and potentially get back in the game or whatever.
Yeah. That's true.
Instead of kingmaking, they can do something at least to
try and get look like you're making an effort, especially when you're not even halfway through the game and already they've given up, and it's just, it's another thing that's just going to sour the mood for players who are there to have a good time, and having a good time is the competition,
Well, see, the thing is that, okay, with that particular situation, it was pure just fucking kingmaking. He didn't want to do anything else. He listened to the other person.
That might have been a bad game to play with, people that we don't know.
I mean,
they knew each other, so,
yeah.
And they didn't really know anyone else, and so they were just got to a point where, I'm going to help the guy win. I know this guy.
Well, I mean, I watched it. That started from the beginning, but, I mean, like I said, that was just... like you say, talk to him and try to be like, yeah, you can do something different. I mean, that was entirely, I don't know. But, yeah.
And Twilight Imperium is usually kind of a different beast when we're talking about some of this stuff, but...
it really is.
Yeah, it's not so bad when you're sitting through an hour-and-a-half game. If you're watching the shit go on for 6-7 hours,
8.
That's going to hurt you.
8.
Exactly.
8 plus.
Who wants to be pissed off at somebody across the table from him for 8 straight
hours?
No. He was hours and he was king-making him the whole time?
The entire time.
Yeah, really by the time, we were trying to convince the people next to them to do something about it earlier, and, they just never did, and it just got out of hand. By the time somebody could do something about it, it was already too late. They just said they had by far the 2 biggest armies, and we were all fighting we couldn't do anything to them, so we started fighting each other, and we were all weak, and then he just steamrolled us.
Because effectively, this is how the game went. Everybody was new except for Matt, me, and Doug. So he took play of 3 people around him, and he effectively used all their moves in his favor. And he got Bump to build his army up, and then Bump was just like, yeah, I'm just going to keep kingmaking him without anything, without any prompting. And it was terrible.
Yeah, we can say this for the eventual Twilight episode, but one strategy to help break that up is do randomized seating.
Yeah.
Don't let friends sit next to each other in that type of game. And that's very game specific, but it could apply to some other games as well.
Yeah, that's true.
If you can randomize the elements to let people interact with the people they don't normally interact with, that could help mitigate team making times.
Yeah. Well, like I said, as far as king making goes, I don't think we've ever had somebody, consciously do it, because like even I admit I king made what's his name a little bit, but I actually thought I could win. I was 60 points away from the win. I was second place. I didn't do it like for David when we played Tesla versus Edison. I gave him a lot, but I also thought I had a chance to win. And I mean, in the end, I was 60 points away from winning. I mean, I gotta admit, I king made him a little bit, but that really was not my intention.
Yeah, you still have to try and make the move that's in your best interest, even if the outcome is it's going to push somebody into first. I mean, you're still trying to get your standing as high up there as you can, really. I
mean, sometimes you're going to do that, and that's really not what I'm talking about. It's just we've never played with an out-and-out kingmaker until that Twilight Imperium game, and never realized just exactly how infuriating it was. The truth is it wasn't until like way later, until we were like a couple hours into it, that I realized that that's exactly what he was doing. And
I mean, in that game you're gonna have alliances occasionally, but I mean, there's a point in there where Bump could have legitimately
steamrolled
beat him back, and he didn't do it. That's when I got the game Kingmaker.
All right, Kingmakers suck. Take a tip from Matt and everybody else. Talk to them first. If they don't respond, do not invite them back unless you're okay with it. I personally am not okay with it. All right, well, that's it. Unless you guys have another player type. That's all I really have written down. So I guess we'll go to our next segment.
Okay, so before we get into our strats for Chaos in the Old World, so there's one other thing I want to talk about. Maybe you know and maybe you don't know, but Kingdom Death is finally being released. And right now, you can pre-order it. I think it's until the end of this month, right? For $300 or is it $200? I can't remember.
I don't know. I didn't look into it.
But whenever it's full retail, it'll be $400 brand new for a game. And I think they said the box weighs 25 pounds or 20 pounds or something like that. So, I mean, I remember when this game was on Kickstarter, it was $100 for the game. But now, I mean, even when it was $100, I was thinking, wow, that's a lot for a game. I was hyped for it. I wanted to get it, but I wound up not getting it because of the price. And now that we see everything that's coming out for it, I got hyped for it again and almost hyped myself into buying it.
For $4 bills?
Well, no, I'm pretty sure it was 2. It was 2 or 3. It may have been 3. But I was literally about to start trying to rally you guys into helping to pay for it.
Oh, you did?
But what I was thinking is, how much is too much for a game?
I'd say, man, depends on the game, right?
It depends on your view on things too. Like if you consider something like entertainment value per dollar, and you consider things like movies or video games or online RPGs, which are really good for value if you're playing them a lot, but then you gotta look at it like that. How much play are you going to get out of that game? Because if you could get 6, 7, 8 games for the price you're paying for one and get just as much, play time in for both, then maybe it's worth it. If you're going to pay $400, it's going to sit on your shelf because you can't get anybody else interested, then you probably paid too much. Yeah,
for a typical non-special board game, just a good, well-reviewed board game that I'm interested in, like $60 probably for me. And that's, obviously depending on something like Kingdom Death that is just so extravagant and we might get a whole lot of plays out of it, I might go higher. But for something that's not unique like that, I'm not paying more than $70.
Well, here's a little wrinkle. I mean, because obviously when Kingdom Death was first announced, it was $100, but it was a Kickstarter. Now, like right now, I'm paying $140 for the others on a Kickstarter, and I'm not even getting everything. I'm getting a particular Kickstarter exclusive plus the base game. Now, I even considered when Arcadia Quest was on Kickstarter, I almost dropped $200 to get everything, but that would have been exclusives and everything else, and people got a lot of exclusives with Kingdom Death. They also got a lot of doubles because I watched an unboxing, so does that change how much you're willing to pay?
In a sense, yes, because I'm guilty of backing 2 Zombicide Kickstarters, knowing full well I could get the core game for $65 after release, even though they're starting $100 for the core set, another $40 or so for the inevitable expansion, some extra dice, some plastic pieces. I mean, the shit starts to add up pretty quick.
Well,
so
I'll put in my 2 cents. Sweet Strat on Kickstarters, don't get on Kickstarter. I've stayed away from it, and I'm totally happy with it.
I mean,
there's a lot of great games out there, but I don't know. I can't take that big of a gamble on an unproven new game.
Oh, you see,
even though it looks great.
I will agree with that because last year I went balls to the wall and got like 5, 6 Kickstarters. Pretty unhappy with a lot of them. In fact, with all of them except with the exception of 2, I think, and then there's one I still haven't even played. But now I didn't go over $100. In fact, most of those I think the top one I paid for was like $60. But the only reason why I went, that's a designer I knew, for the others, and that's the reason why I went ahead and went for that Kickstarter. Does it change your opinion on Kickstarter if it's a proven designer?
That probably would. If it's one that I've played a lot of and enjoyed a lot of, like the others, I probably would consider.
I'm still considering
it. Getting it, I probably would.
Yeah, the only thing keeping me not getting it is Harley already beating me to the punch. Like I would be getting it. Probably damn near everything they've got on offer had Harley not backed it first. I'm kind of a sucker for it. I mean,
I'd probably be that way with maybe Vlada Chavato, maybe if Codenames was a Kickstarter or something might have been.
Yeah, I don't know if it was.
It's the exclusives, man. It's like look at all this stuff you're getting that won't be available later. Like okay, I'll pay for that.
Or I would do that with something like a Cosmic Encounter expansion that looked amazing, or a new version of Cosmic Encounter. I probably would splurge or something like that.
Then how much is too much on a Kickstarter?
For me, too much on a Kickstarter is $50, and that's got to be, you've got to impress me. I've backed a lot of role-playing games, and the highest I will go is $25.
For a role-playing game?
Yes. And normally I just back to the digital level. I think the most I've put on a Kickstarter is $25, and that was for Dungeon World, so you get the actual book. But RPGs are a little bit different because usually you'll get something. That's something you can get digitally that, doesn't have to be shipped from China because most of it it's small press, so it's printed on demand. But for Kickstarter, I wouldn't gamble more than 50. But, you see, if I gambled that 100, even if I was speculating, I would get my return. I would get 4-fold, 3-fold my money back.
Yeah, that's true.
I guess that's a topic for another day. Kickstarter speculation and stuff like that.
You could call it an investment opportunity at some point where, you're paying a lot right now. You're waiting months for it, but then the door closes and they might not get a commercial print.
Yeah,
the copy they do then is all that's available, and that one sucks me in a lot of times too.
It's funny that you said that because Hostage Negotiator was like that. They were initially a Kickstarter. I didn't Kickstart it. I decided I'd wait until it got released, and they didn't do enough of the print for the abductor packs that they didn't go to stores. Only the base game went. So I didn't even get a chance to get the extra packs that came out. I only had the base game, and they had to do another Kickstarter, and who's to say whether those are going to be in the stores or not?
Yeah, the value of what you invest could increase 2-3 times.
I think that's another strange thing that's happening in board games that 10 years ago, I don't think this was as big of a thing. But with video games, there's a big secondary market, secondhand market. It seemed like it could be there sooner for board games than I know it's there, but it's not as strong as video games, but it seems like it'll start getting stronger. Now that there's more collectors, stuff will start churning. As morbid as it is, when someone dies, their stuff goes to Goodwill or it goes on eBay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, with the rate that the board game industry is exploding right now, it's like a $2 billion industry, I think last I heard.
It's climbed every year for years.
It's bigger and bigger, more and more people joining, more and more Kickstarters all over the place.
Bigger convention attendances. It's growing.
Well, okay, here's another example, like Fury of Dracula. Before they announced that reprint, second edition Fury of Dracula was 100, 150, 200 brand new if you went off Miniature Market, and they were the only ones I think that even had shrink wrap copies. But for the most, you were paying 100. There are certain games I want to play that I still can't get for under 80, and that's twice what their MSRP was. So where is it when for older games? It's how much are you willing to pay?
Yeah, you gotta look at how stalwart of a collector are you? Are you looking to get? Is it just a game you really want to play and really want to have in your collection, or are you looking at it as like an investment kind of thing? That's another thing that would determine how much you would pay. I'm not going to pay $150 for something that just went out of print 6 months ago.
That's true, but for the most part, the way I think of it is collection wise, I don't think it. I figure I could probably get at least half of what I pay. No, I think that's probably a pretty good range if collecting wise. but just to play. Like most of these games, I just want to play. Like Fear of Dracula, I just wanted to play it. I didn't care about the collector's value of it, but I also wasn't willing to pay no $150 for it either. And it's just like Damon said, he didn't understand why it was so much. It was just people, jacking up the price because they know they could get it.
So the simple supply and demand issue.
Yeah. So I mean, would you pay that much just to play a game?
I'd probably say no, because how wowed are you really going to be by a game that you're willing to pay that kind of price for it?
Well, you could, if I back to Kingdom Death, or if I wanted to play Fury of Dracula so bad, I could put down the 150 or 200. I could play it, I could see what it's like, and then that's back on eBay, or it's back on for trade bait.
Honestly, I never thought about it.
Yeah. That's what we did with, because, we're talking a lot about video games this podcast, but back when the new hotness would come out, your resale goes down the further you get away from lead.
Yeah.
So, that's what I would do is buy the game brand new, finish it, and get rid of it as soon as possible.
Wow. You know what? I never actually really thought about that, to tell you the truth. Effectively, if you did that, you could, and you didn't like the game, you only paid $10 for the experience. And that's what a movie. Yeah. Problem, because I was actually thinking about that with Viceroy, because I'm still not entirely sure how I feel about that game. We only got to play it the once. I wanted to play it a couple more times, but now we're so far away. I don't know exactly if I could get even half.
Yeah, I remember that happening with Dead of Winter last year. People, there was so much hype around it. Everybody bought it, tried it out. A lot of people didn't like it. Immediately started. There was a huge secondary market for it. Maybe a month after it came out.
Yeah, that's another thing about speculating is you could be buying Madden 2K16, which in 3 months is going to be a $20 game.
Yeah. No way I'll take it. So, what were you going to say?
Unless they don't do 2K17, then all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Well, so, I guess, let me ask you this, the others is 100. Is Eric Lane. He designed Chaos in the whole world. Would you pay 100 for that?
Man, I don't know. With board games, probably not. And that's just because you're getting it.
Well, I understand that, but in a world where nobody else is getting it, and you're the one...
In a world where nobody else is getting it, most of my money would probably be spent on video games, because I wouldn't know anyone who...
No. You're not understanding. You still have the group to play.
Yeah, you know what? It would depend. If the Kickstarter is super hyped, I would think about it, because there would be the chance that I could flip it. If it was something that's not funding 300%, I don't know if I'd do it.
Well, okay. Well, here's the thing. It comes from Cool Mini or not. I looked at it. I looked at the sculpts. That's what interested me. But I was like, Zombicide. It kind of some of that stuff looks like Zombicide. I don't know. And then when it was Eric Lane designed it, I was like, ooh, well, let me take another look. And then I was still like, I don't know. And then I watched the video of exactly how it played. And I was like, take my money.
Yeah.
I was like $100, but I was like, I'm not going to get anything else. And I pretty much stuck to that until I saw the Apocalypse box, and when they added more,
had the new game mode.
Yeah,
some awesome.
bad guys.
I'm not a straight sucker for minis, but they're definitely some awesome eye candy. I wouldn't buy a game just solely off of the components.
Right.
There's got to be a game behind it, but it's like that first initial physical attraction to anything.
That's true.
It's what's going to catch your eye, and that's what's going to have you read into it. And
yeah, and it was, because those minis are. Man, they're gruesome.
Yeah, and then again, whenever it's a Cool Mini or not, so
they're good.
They start to add a shitload of exclusives, and then all of a sudden, you know what? It seems like a bit pricey for a board game compared to 50 or 60. But how much extra shit are you getting? How much is it going to be worth as soon as it's out? When everybody realizes you can't get exclusive anywhere else unless you happen to be at a convention or something.
Oh, let me ask you this: what about Scythe? I tend
day one backer. I love Euphoria. Love viticulture with Tuscany.
He's the designer.
That's one thing. Yeah, it's Stonemeyer Games, James Stegmeyer. There's probably gonna be 3 different tiers. I'm looking at the highest tier, $100. I'm getting it, guaranteed. I haven't even done the print and play of it yet, but I will be getting it.
Ain't no way I do a print and play. It's so much.
There was a lot to it. I've done a couple of them, and most of them were just primarily card games. This one's got a lot to it, and then you're also sourcing your components, which isn't a problem. I've got meeples, I've got bits. I can make that happen, but. it was a pretty daunting task to put together.
Okay, so let me ask you this: where would you stop? What's the price that you're going to stop?
On that?
Yeah, on the site.
Probably $100.
Even if they add extra
I
stuff.
think there's going to be like, your normal base, and then they've got like an $80 tier, and then they got like a collector's edition type thing.
Mm-hmm.
And
They don't add over that. Like
I'm not really.
Mini does.
I don't think there's going to be like a lot of exclusive, but there are going to be, some different, like maybe some component upgrades, that kind of thing. They probably do, the custom box sleeve for the collectors, that type of deal. And again, just they're stable with me. I'm like, I'm getting it. Day one.
So, I understand you're getting it, but I'm just asking, how much more are you willing to go in?
Oh God.
Over. That's what I'm asking.
I've gone as high as 170 some odd on a Kickstarter, but I'm not going to say that's what I would pay for Scythe. No matter what they put in the box, I'm going to pay it. But yeah, you start adding some extras, and
but you don't have like a
I don't have a set price. Yeah,
you're kind of like a floating hard,
and it's kind of hard to say, man. 100 that's a big price to pay for a single game.
Well,
but if it's something you really like, if something that you're going to enjoy, that you're going to get some plays out of, that.
Yeah, I would say 100 would be the good round number for me. If it's, proven developer that I like, proven publisher, looks great, I'd have to consider stopping around 100.
Well, see, just like with Arcadia Quest, I was going to go all in 200. And I talked myself out of it, which I shouldn't have. But at the time, I was like, I don't know. I could get other Kickstarters. I could just buy $100 worth of games off Cool Stuff now. Hey,
yeah, that's another
we
thing
get to play.
Dropping that kind of money on a game you're not going to see for 6, 8,
2 years,
2.5 years later. Yeah, it's hard to pay that much for something up front.
But I think that, also, just like you said, is it going to sit on the shelf? I don't even know if we would have played it. We haven't even played your copy. And there I would have had everything sitting on the shelf.
It's going to be an epic.
Yeah. I know eventually we'll play it, but it's just, that would have been $200 I would put into a game. I'm glad I didn't do it. I'm glad and I'm not glad I didn't do it for kind of both the same reasons. I didn't get those exclusives, but at the same time, it's not sitting on my shelf collecting dust, and I'm not sitting there looking at it and be like, well,
200 well spent.
Yeah. Good. What do you call it? Paperweight. $200 paperweight. So, man, I don't even know what the sweet strats are. I guess how much the value is to you, and I guess everybody probably already knew that already.
Yeah. What is value to you at Sweet Strats on Twitter?
How much have you spent on a board game?
As far as like Kickstarter goes, I think this is going to be the most for the others. Everything else was pretty much kept under $6. I bought a lot of $20 card games.
Yeah, small stuff is easy for me to say yes
to. Oh,
suckers!
I think if you guys can get a copy of the Agents, I say do it. I'd rather enjoy that game, and it's cheap. As far as just games that come out, I have a hard time paying MSRP for games that come out. We don't have a local store to support, so I don't have that worry.
I've only bought board games at West Texas Cards if I have store credit.
So, I guess buy them as cheap as you can. And as far as older games go,
I'd paid MSRP for something that was no longer in print.
Yeah.
Plus shipping. But again, that was another designer that immediately liked all his games. I was like, okay, I'll go back and get his back catalog. And
how much would you pay for a designer that you liked in his back catalog? How much would you pay over MSRP? Maybe double?
50%, 60%.
50-60. Just depending on how much you liked it.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess so. Because I look at Dungeon Run, and I hear so much trash talked about that, and I can't justify double. I can justify MSRP, but I can't justify double. And just like Fear Dracula, I wasn't prepared to pay no $150 for an opened game.
Yeah.
Break. All right.
Any other thoughts on the high cost of board gaming?
You know what? It isn't magic. I guarantee you that.
Cardboard crack.
I probably could have had
a
a down payment on a new car, probably. I don't want to go back and tally up. I'll say that.
I can devote portions to a future podcast on magic finance, but I'll stop it here.
Just give me the full pack, baby. You got a Shivan dragon in there.
Yeah, all of my magic references are from Revised.
Yeah, they're all old. Need that force of nature, baby.
More to the pit.
Oh, you got a bad moon?
All right. Well, I guess we'll go ahead and get into Chaos in the Old World.
And today, Matt is going to be leading off our
rules section.
Yeah.
And he's totally doing it live right now.
Here we go. So, Chaos in the Old World is an asymmetrical area control game designed by Eric Lang and put out by Fantasy Flight Games. It has a release date of 2009, but it's been a very frequent reprint. It's still readily available and for a pretty reasonable price. So we are basically, the theme of the game is a very family-friendly theme of we are playing one of the old gods of the Warhammer universe, and we're essentially slaughtering mankind and ruining the regions of the board. So each of the main 4 Chaos gods plays in a unique way. You have Khorne, the blood god, who is basically all about just slaughtering as many people as he can. His main victory condition is essentially killing one figure in one different region. You have Nurgle, which is all about spreading corruption, slowly ruining regions, scoring a bunch of points at the end of the game. You have Tzeentch, who's the master manipulator and movement master. He's all about manipulation, movement, denying combat. He's very efficient at avoiding combat and manipulating the board to his liking. And you also have Slaanesh, who is the goddess of pleasure and pain, who has probably the hardest to kill units, is very resilient in combat, and can do a lot of very good manipulating / dominating in other areas. So the game basically, each Chaos power has 3 different types of units. Everyone has cultists, which don't have any attack value by default, and they each drop corruption, which is basically the key to the game that I'll get to. Each Chaos side has warrior units, which are relatively low cost, but have the cheapest combat die, are just the most efficient guys to kind of throw out there and do some damage. And each of them also has a greater demon, which is the most powerful unit of the board. You each just have 1 total on each Chaos side. They're expensive to bring out, they cost 3 power, but they will be throwing the most combat dice. So the game essentially the game plays out over 7 turns, and you always begin with the Old World phase, which essentially simulates the old world, the people of the old world rising up against the Chaos gods. And usually when you resolve an old world card, it negatively impacts the board, across the board for everyone. So that's the first thing you always do. Each power has their own deck of Chaos cards, which is 6 copies of 4 different cards. They're all pretty powerful. At the beginning of every turn, you'll draw 2 additional Chaos cards, except for Tzeentch, who always draws up to 5. Zinch's whole strategy is based on combat cards, as we'll talk about later. So during your turn, you'll have a set amount of power to spend. Every Chaos power starts out with 6, except for Khorne, who starts with 7. And we'll essentially take turns either playing a unit to the board or playing Chaos cards from our hand until we're all out of power. And the way summoning works is really the best way to wrap your brain around it is there's really no movement in the game. You're always just summoning units. When you have no units on the board, you can summon a unit to anywhere on the board if you have no units on the board. If you have units on the board, you can either place them in that same location with one of your units or adjacent to one of those locations. So you can pretty easily move your units across the board if you have units on opposite sides of the board. They don't have to be adjacent. Like I said, there's really no movement, there's only summoning in the game. So once we've all played all of our cards, once we've used up all of our power, we go to the battle phase, to where in each region where we have figures that roll combat die, we resolve those combat die. You simply chunk some dice. A roll of 4 or higher is a hit. You deal 1 amount of damage. If you roll a 6, it's called an explosion. You get to roll again, and could potentially just keep exploding if you keep rolling 6s. So you have to outright kill a unit you have to deal a full amount of damage to kill a unit. There's no partial damage in the game. So once we resolve the battle phase, we go to what's called the domination step. Domination works like this. If you have a total amount of units, doesn't matter what type of units, just simple raw quantity, total amount of units plus the power cost of your chaos cards you have in the region. One thing of note, you can only have 2 chaos cards total per region. So if your value of your chaos cards plus the total amount of figures is greater than the printed domination value on the board, and you have the highest domination value among all players there, you get to score that many points on the board. This can be increased by hero tokens on it, the resistance value can be reduced by Skaven tokens, and there's also some various different old world effects that can affect that as well. So that's the most straightforward way to score points, simply dominate in a region. Only 1 player per region can dominate. We then go on to the corruption phase, which is really the heart of the game. It's to where each of your cultists in a region that survives the battle phase gets to drop 1 corruption each. When a region reaches 12 total corruption, including warpstone tokens, that region is ruined. When a region is ruined, whoever was present that turn scores points for ruining it, regardless of if you place corruption on that region that turn, you'll automatically score a set amount of points. This starts with 3, goes up to 5 based on the ruination cards. After that, we'll check to whoever has the most corruption in that region gets a high value amount of points based on whatever region it is. The higher value regions score more points. And the player with the second most corruption scores a second amount of points, usually about half of the first. So by ruining regions is the primary way to win the game for everyone but Khorne. And there can be some wacky scenarios where Khorne can win on points too. So after the corruption phase, we go to end phase where we'll remove our chaos cards from the board. We'll resolve hero tokens, which can come into play from the old world cards, and simply the player with the highest threat removes one of their figures from the board where the hero token is present. Hero tokens don't often come into play, but sometimes they will. At this point, we'll check for game win. One key note is any dial advancement win conditions are checked before any point victory conditions. So the game ends when someone hits their dial advancement or when someone hits 50 points. And if that doesn't happen, the game also ends when we have 5 ruined regions, which in our experience was the most common end game condition. If you somehow make it through all that without getting to any of those conditions, after 7 rounds, the player with the highest points wins. One additional thing that's also checked during the end phase is your dial advancement conditions. And what this is a unique game condition that lets you advance on your dial. Advancing on your dial allows you to gain upgrade cards, gets free points, usually gets something very beneficial to you. Even if you can't win on the dial, it's very beneficial to at least get 1 tick around so that you can start getting these upgrades. So the way each one, Khorne is simply, he has to kill a figure in 1 different region. Khorne is the easiest to dominate the dial on, and he's the easiest to win on the dial because you can simply spread out, throw a bunch of dice every turn, and get 4 or 5 potential dial ticks. Nurgle is simply dropping 2 corruption in a region that is populous, and there is only 4 populous regions on the board, and they're all clearly marked with populous. Slaanesh has to drop 2 corruption in a region where there is a noble or hero token. Hers is the hardest to usually get because a lot of times it's dependent on old world cards or fortuitous noble token placement. But she is the easiest to win on the dial as she wins on only 7 ticks. And there's also Tzeentch, who has to drop 2 corruption in a region that has either 2 warpstone tokens or 2 magic symbols, or I believe any combination of both. So at the end of in the end of the phase, whenever you check for these, for each one of those conditions you meet, and you can meet them multiple times in a turn, you get 1 little token. If you have at least 1, you'll advance your dial 1 no matter what. If you have the most, not tied for the most, if you have the most, you get to advance your dial twice. So if you're letting someone get multiple dial advancements every turn, you need to check that very quickly or they're going to win the game.
Okay, so we're not going to go by game. We figured we'd just go ahead and talk demon by demon. And we'll go in player order, just so you know. So as Matt has explained, the player order is it goes demon by demon. It goes Korn, Nurgle, Zinch, and then Slanesh. So I guess that's how we'll take it. So number 1 is Korn.
Just really quick, can we get the reference cards out? Ticks on them, at least for me.
He has the longest track, right? No, he's not the longest.
Nurgle's long.
Nurgle's long.
It doesn't seem to make sense. Seems like Korn gets stuff.
Yeah, Nurgle. Well,
all right, so Korn has 9. He has 9 places on his dial to win. Obviously, you win by points or dial.
Yeah, I think if you're gonna go dial, you have to decide that in round 1.
I went dial. I tried to go dial every time. I didn't even try to win on points, just to be honest. But I'll tell you one thing: if you get screwed as Korn in the first couple of rounds and you don't get a dial advancement, stop immediately, because you will not win. I'm saying that hands down.
I don't know. I'm of the opinion that Korn, aside from extreme circumstances, can only win on the die. It's just damn near impossible for him to win on points. Even if you get a bad start and you get turn 1 teleported by Zinch or some shit, I still think you gotta go for the dial. You just gotta try to fight back. It's just, unless you're, like I said, that one really wacky game we played, unless you're in a really wacky game like that where Korn can conceivably get the domination values in return, I think you gotta go dial.
Let me ask you this, because I thought about this after the game where Jeremy won on points with Korn. He stayed in the highest value spot, and none of us ever went in to try to get him because number 1, your big demon was there. Mm-hmm. So, and then you had a couple of bloodletters. So no matter what, that was 8 dice that he was rolling every time. Plus, if he, I don't remember if you had the upgrade for your cultist.
Yeah, the only tick I got was that upgrade. The initial tick. But yeah, the only upgrade I actually got was for the cultist. I remember asking you guys, well, what did you do? It's pretty obvious now cultist is the way to go. Yeah. Being able to throw more dice in more regions for Korn is obviously a good thing. Having that chance to get your kill somewhere is big for him. And initially going in, I was going, that's the obvious strat, try and get your kills, but it just wasn't happening. The dice were screwing me. You got to go first, so you're going into a region. Everybody leaves. Unless you play his card that's keeping everybody in the region that can't teleport out, then yeah, you're trying to go for the kills, but only after that wasn't working is when I had to switch it up.
I would say aside from Zinch, Korn probably has the most useful chaos deck, I would say, because he can potentially use the card where he can dominate with attack value. He's got the Blood Frenzy card that allows him to roll 2 combat dice in any other region to kill people off. I think he's got more useful cards than Nurgle or Slanesh.
He has a really versatile deck, I gotta say, after looking at it again. He's got a lot of tricks he can pull too, and he's not really the character that's pigeonholed in that kind of role, but he can pull some tricks on you.
Man, all I know is that the game that I played with Korn, and I missed the first 2 rounds of ticks, just even getting 1 tick, it was devastating. Yeah. There was no comeback win.
Yeah, I think from everything I've read about the game is designed to where every chaos power can get 1 tick around, no matter what, even if you're really playing bad. And I know that definitely hasn't happened for me and most of everyone else. But generally you can play it to where you get at least 1 tick every round, and then after that you're trying to play for the bonus ticks. But, like I said, much easier said than done.
Yeah, Korn's ticks are decided on a random element, essentially. Yeah. Nothing's guaranteed. Those 2 dice from a Bloodletter, sometimes it's not enough to get that kill.
Mm. Yeah. But when you stayed in the highest value domination region, which is the Empire, and you just posted up there, threw all your stuff there, and you dominated, what, 3 times?
It was at least 3 times.
It was a Korn win because nobody even... It didn't even matter if his cultists were there. In fact, it was probably better if you didn't have a damn cultist there so it would never ruin. And you could just get the domination value over and over and over.
It was an extreme set of circumstances that caused the score wins. Because I had all 4 copies of the card that change your domination value based on your attack value. Like I said, I had my Greater Demon sitting there just posted up.
Yeah.
I had some other guys in there here and there just to try and make sure I had that domination. But after doing it 2 times off the cards, the next card draw I had was 2 more copies of the card. It's 20 points.
And that was also the game where one of our many peasant uprising games.
Oh, God.
Nobody could dominate anything else because there was like 2 or 3 peasants in every zone adding to the resistance.
From round 1, the peasants were not taking our bullshit. They just were not going to have it.
It's like nobody else was able to score points except for Jeremy, who had this one massive attack power in the Empire.
Question: when you played Corn, weren't you able? Were you finally able to kill peasants? Yeah. You killed peasants as Corn? I couldn't remember. Yeah. I know the one. We got the picture there.
Yeah, that was Zach's peasant revenge.
Yeah.
Yeah, another thing, if you're Corn and there's no one in your region, don't skip your region. Kill the peasant there. Because every once in a while you'll get that old world card and you'll score off of it.
I scored off of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't let peasants just sit there. I mean, that's for anyone, but especially for Corn, because usually he's spread out all over the map trying to get those kills.
Way more attack dice than anyone else.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another thing, as far as defending against Corn, the thing that I saw is you have to fight him. You can't just let him.
You can't run.
You can't run because then he just keeps scoring.
Yeah, we saw where Matt had an amazing initial first placement. Looking back at it, there's no better place to start your turn than Bretonia, right there in the middle, because of how much access you have to the map from there as far as adjacent.
Yeah, you can reach 5 zones immediately, and then with one other placement, you can reach every single zone except for like 1 or 2.
Yeah,
your next
and
placement.
he spread quick to everywhere. There was not very many safe zones, and especially once he got his cultist upgrade. I mean, nothing was safe. He was all over that board. And if you just sit there and let that happen, he's got chances everywhere. You've got to start taking him off the board. You do have to fight back. You can't just run, because you run out of places to run to.
Well, I mean, not only that, if you run, you just screw yourself. You end your chances of even trying to do your dial advancement, or you make it to where now you've got to go back across the board in order to ruin with people and get those points that way too.
Yeah, it's just resources spent.
Yeah.
You could just, stay with it. And again, just because he's rolling dice doesn't mean he's getting kills. You can't not necessarily back down.
So you either have to be prepared to soak it all with your cultist, or you're going to have to throw in some of your own fighting men too.
Your mud men.
So when you're playing Corn, and I think everyone agrees on this, but when you get your first upgrade, what do you guys think it should be?
Cultist.
It's the cultist.
I think it's an easy.
Yeah, I think with a lot of the with every demon in this game except for one I can think of, I guess for half of them, there's one upgrade that you have got to take. With Corn and Slanesh, there's one upgrade you have to take first, and with Nurgle and Blue Man,
Zinch.
there's more wiggle room depending on what's going on with them.
Let me ask you, did you guys ever consider taking the power upgrade for Corn?
I think I did one time in a previous play. That's the clear cut second upgrade in my opinion for Corn.
I always looked at blood letters because the initial, because they got that low defense, only have 1 defense, so being able to fire off first could be a big deal if that's if you're going heavy blood letters. But
you're so power hungry.
Yeah, because when you take if you do get the power upgrade, you go up to 8 power, which means you can conceivably drop 4 blood letters every turn if you want to, and that's immediately 8 dice in 4 different regions every turn if you do it like that.
Yeah, another thing that when I played Corn is since you are the first to go every round, trying to play 0 power cards or do something to stall your first placement is almost essential, because people will run from you. They won't go where you're at. You're always since you're first, everyone knows where you're going. So trying to save your power, maybe throw down some cultists or something before you put down your guys who attack. Just so you can get better placement, especially, on the first round.
The downside to Corn is he always places first, so you can always get better placement than he does in almost every turn. So I remember the game I played, I had one guy out, nobody placed any figures the first round, so I was just randomly placing another dude the second round, kind of wasted turn. And then y'all played so far away that I really couldn't get any more efficient plays that first turn, because y'all waited so long, played cards, spread out enough to where I really couldn't get a good position early on.
Just out of curiosity, then would you play? What do you think? Just even if you had to spend power in the opening rounds, especially the opening round, would you just go? Do you think maybe playing cards would be more beneficial? Even though I know most of us didn't do it if they had a cost, unless it was 0 power.
Well, Blood Frenzy is a 0 power card, and so Blood Frenzy makes it where you can roll 2 dice in that region before battle starts, and it'll kill off people if you roll the kill dice. But that won't score you any dial advance.
No.
Yeah.
So, well, it's it's kind of like his denial card, I thought. Like, you're trying to deny someone a tick, so you throw that somewhere. Like, you throw it in a spot with a noble to deny Slanesh, or a spot with Warpstone or Magic Sign to deny Zinj, or in a populous region for Nurgle. That's the only deny card that I can think of him.
Yeah, like to me, like further along those lines, Khorne is the biggest crowd controller in the game. Like he has so many attack figures, he needs to be the guy that beats people back a lot of times. Like if especially Nurgle and Zinj, if they're taking over the game, he needs to be the guy that goes in there and just slaughters cultists as much as he can. Because really nobody else is able to build up as much attack power as he can. So he needs to be the enforcer as well as just the slaughterer.
A mediator.
Yeah.
Keep a cap on everybody else getting the runaway going on.
He also has the lowest number of cultist bodies.
Yeah.
So, I mean, trying to plague a region isn't really ideal.
So, I guess if you boil it down for Khorne, so if people are scared of you, especially when you put your demon out there, it seemed like people get more. I was definitely not one to screw around with Khorne's demon. But you just gotta fight it. Or you gotta not be scared if it kills your guys in a region. Because if you let Khorne post up, if he posts up in the Empire, he will get a point victory.
I almost want to say that Greater Demon is like the biggest post-up demon to get you point. Because he costs 3 to move. Nobody really wants to go fight him because he has 4 dice. So it's almost, it's dice, so it's not a guaranteed victory. But most of the time, probably about 75% of the time, it's a victory.
Maybe he's really by himself, too.
Yeah, he's really by himself. And the only other effective means of travel is that card, where you pay 2 and you can move 2 figures to any room.
Yeah.
So for the most part, wherever that greater demon is, he's probably going to be posted up somewhere. He's probably not going to move.
Yeah, that's why he's good to post up in a high value place. Because you can dominate it and keep scoring points, and you don't even have to have a cultist in there. Play cards in there to get your domination power up. Play the attack power ones like that. Kill off the peasants that show up there if no one else is showing up.
Yeah, seeing more plays, I think, just trying to hold down the high score regions, because who wants to come in there and tussle and try to get in? I mean, unless it's going to ruin, and they're trying to get that one cultist and hope he survives, get those ruination points, then you're not going in there when there's 4 dice, and then if he's got some cultists in there, most likely you've got that upgrade. That's just, you start to stack up the odds quick where nobody's coming into your neighborhood, and if they do, they're going to pay for it. Yeah, I think just getting him early on a high value, high point value region, and then next round start dropping in cultists because they're cheap. Play cards to add your domination. It's a valid strat whenever you're spreading out and you're not getting your kills, you're not getting your dollar. Then that's the way to try and get a point victory.
Yeah, you force people to come and take you out, and then that at least gives you a $1 victory.
Yeah, you'll start to get some more upgrades or even a couple of score ticks on his dial. It can start to add up.
Because you're the only one that has even a first strike ability, right?
As far as I know, yeah. Either through the Blood Letter upgrade or through the Blood Frenzy card. I don't think there is any other first strikes in the game.
So, effectively, Khorne is always going to do his damage, even if his models die off due to other people's damage.
Yeah, I mean, if you're trying to ruin somewhere, especially if you're trying to ruin somewhere, you should just throw your cultists in there, even if because Khorne doesn't hit all the time.
Yeah.
And especially if there's more than one player in there, hopefully you'll get some score on it. But you just can't run from it.
Yeah, you definitely can't run. And if you lose if you lose ticks in the first 2 rounds, you better start thinking about doing something quickly, or you are going to lose. Even if that's posting up in a place and making people come to you. Definitely in a populous region. I would say Empire. Yeah. Empire or what? Estalia. If those are your only 2 choices, those are your choices. Go to either one of those, because you're going to force them to come.
All right.
So, Khorne, anything else? Spread out. If you have to post up in a high value region. Play your cards to try to stall as best you can.
Yeah, or start making your bridges with your cultists to have more access to the regions that the other players are looking at. I mean, it's all going to come down to the tokens that are out on the maps. I mean, go to where the Warpstones are, stay in the populous region for Nurgle. Try to go to where either the hero or noble tokens are for Slanesh. I mean, you definitely want to try and have access to those regions, because that's where the other players are going to have to gravitate towards if they're going for their dollar.
And Khorne also has one of the biggest, in my opinion, one of the highest impact chaos cards. The one where nobody can place corruption that turn. So you can just totally, if there's not any other cards or Zinj floating around, you can just totally shut down a region for a turn. Yeah. By a turn that you could use to win or something.
You can stall a ruination that way and give yourself some time to get into there and start killing off some cultists. Probably stacking up if it's going to ruin.
If you can get the double advantage advance every turn except for one. You can win in 5 turns with corn.
It's not hard to get ticks.
All you gotta do is get at least 1 tick your first turn, and after you built up, get the double tick for 4 straight returns, and you win at the end of 5.
And in between the time, if you gotta draw it out, get some points. Because nobody's gonna come to that big blood letters at. He's just gonna stand there like, wish you won't. Moving him, don't move him. Once you put him in somewhere, put him in a populous region, he costs 3 to move, man.
Unless you're playing the
card.
card.
Yeah.
If you get him out, you're pretty much gonna leave him, so.
Okay. Well, I want to move on to Nurgle.
All right, to the Nurgle and
Plague.
All right, first sweet strat is read the rules. Because our practice game, we played this game 5 times, those 6 times.
There's some intricacies we left out over the first play or two.
Is it, Nurgle can only get his ticks in 4 regions, and that's the populous region. Estalia, Bretonia, the Empire, and Kislev. Nurgle has what? 11 on his dial. So I guess basically Nurgle's winning on points.
Yes, you don't win on the dial. Unless if you're another wacky ass game like we had with Corn winning on the dial.
Yeah, just the way he throws out his corruption, he is a points guy.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's
he's got a lot of ways to do it, and doesn't he have the most cultists? Doesn't he have like 8?
No, he actually only has 6.
Only has 6?
Surprising.
Okay.
So Zinch is the most.
Zinch is the most.
Huh, okay.
Okay, so the best strategy I can tell you is I had no chance of winning with Nurgle at all. I totally bumbled that because I ran. Do not run. Just get ready to lose throw out your mud jabronis, which are your mud men.
That's what we call the Nurgle's Warriors.
Yeah, Nurgle's
Warriors.
Warriors. So throw out your mud jabronis and let them soak up damage or do damage. And I guess if you have to pile up all your cultists in an area, pile them up. But
yeah, actually, aside from Khorne's upgraded cultists, they are one of the most efficient damage dealers in the game because they're 1 power for one die roll every time. You could just you can just throw them out there and spam them.
Yeah,
they're just 1/1s for 1.
Yeah, the 1/1/1. They're really a neat unit. They're unique in that they're the warrior that only costs 1 to throw out there.
And Nurgle has a lot of cards that increases
defense.
Yeah, defense.
Yeah, you
can
can really.
That's Nurgle's best card, I think. The plus defense.
Yeah, you can really guarantee your corruption out there because again, if you're not running from Khorne and you play a card there. Obviously, Khorne's not going to go after your 2 defense value. He's going to kill the cheap cultist. He can definitely push his focus on the other player.
Yeah, probably. I would say Mudman spam is maybe the best way to counter Khorne because most of it's just 1 attack. You can throw a bunch of units at Khorne to get his units off the board, and it doesn't matter if you're gonna die because resummon them for 1 cost.
That's another thing to point out is that it's not really a hindrance to losing your units, other than losing out on corruption when you get your cultists out there. It's the same cost to bring them in as it is to move them.
Yep.
So do some fighting. I mean, get in there and tussle. Take out some other people.
Yeah, I think for Nurgle, it'll be hard to get a dial advancement victory. That's one thing that I screwed up on. I picked the wrong upgrade card because I was focusing on dial advancement.
Yeah, you want to still get a tick every turn from Nurgle because he has a lot of bonus victory points, and obviously you want to try to get ticks as much as you can with anyone. But I think Nurgle's a little more so. It's very hard to get a double advancement, and damn near impossible to win on the dial, but. Just getting 1 tick around is still performing. Yeah,
so what I did, the way you get a tick for Nurgle is to put 2 corruption in one of the 4 populous regions. One of his upgrade cards for his demon makes it where as soon as you put that demon in a spot, you're putting down 2 corruption, bam, you have a tick. All you have to do is pay the power to put him down. So you're paying 3 essentially for a tick. But what that's doing is it's hamstringing you because you're investing 3 power in a tick every round. That's 3 power you could be using to play Plague Auras, to boost your guys' defense, to keep them in an area. I think Plague Aura is 2, so you're paying. So I mean, while you are giving it to the dice, usually the Plague Aura is going to save your guys.
Tell me what Plague Aura does.
Plague Aura boosts their defense by 1 or 2. I think it's 2.
It's
1. But I mean, still, most of the time, if there's another player there, whoever's attacking will kill their guys and not waste their attacks on you.
Well, I mean, that effectively also says that you only have to put 3 cultists in an area if there's just if Khorne's spread out with his bloodletter because he can't kill 2 of your guys anymore. It's just 1.
Yeah, once you get with Nurgle, the 1 tick is all you need, and then focus on something else for the rest of the round.
Points.
Domination. I mean, obviously, you're gravitating towards the populous regions anyway, which are all the highest point values. So if you can just kind of camp out in a good one, maybe Estalia, or I think the Empire is going to be in high contention, being the highest value. But it really also depends on the other tokens that are out there, the warp stones or the noble tokens. But if you can definitely have your stake in one of the higher regions and then try and get an advancement here and there on the others, then yeah, I mean he's a points guy, so obviously you're going to be in those high point value areas.
Yeah. You also need to watch out other people's corruption where they're putting it, because if you even want to be in second place, you gotta have the second most corruption, and it only takes 12. Especially with warp stones. Warp stones lower it.
Yeah, it's easy to forget about those and not realize that, oh shit, this is about to ruin because we've got 2 stones here.
Yeah, Nurgle has cards that will remove it, and he also has dial beams that remove other corruption, doesn't he?
Yeah, so try and help get those majorities, obviously. I mean, and you got to be thinking about if you're going to be corrupting, you want majority.
Also, when you get his upgrade, I think the upgrade to take is the 3 points every time anything works.
Yes.
And only you took that one, right?
In my opinion, that is the best upgrade card among all the power.
Yeah.
That's your number one?
It is literally a free 15 points most games.
Yeah, it just nickel and dimes it. I mean...
Because, if you get it early, before the first one ruins, in most games you're guaranteed to get that for all 5 things that ruin.
And you don't even have to be there.
Yep.
You don't even have to be there. I mean, obviously you're going to try to be at least one cultist in to get the ruination points also, but it's just easy points. And I overlooked it, and then looking back, it's...
Yeah, I mean, if you get the ruin, so you get the points for ruining it, you're the majority there, so you get the most. And, here's 3 for just because of your Nurgle.
It's huge. And something that's kind of situational with Nurgle, if Slaanesh has her early noble tokens on the populous regions also, try and make an alliance with Slaanesh early so that she plays her plus defense or something else on those regions so that the Slaanesh player doesn't lose her cultists. Try and focus on those same regions so you lose your cultists either on that first turn. I've done that in a couple games, just kind of piggybacking off of Slaanesh early on to get some free corruption for a couple turns so that nobody attacks your regions. But yeah, I mean, for me, Nurgle's all about just dropping as much corruption as possible. Like, just using all 6 tier cultists every turn if you can. And then any leftover points, use on Mudden. I've never once messed with the Greater Demon.
Yeah, and that was kind of... I can't remember if I won the game I played as Nurgle. I think it was actually one of the trial type periods. Yeah. I may have won, but we miffed that rule so bad that I probably shouldn't have been getting those die advancements. But yeah, I see it as a mistake, as investing in the Greater Demon. It's a tick, but it's an expensive-ass tick.
Yeah, if your board state is really heavy combat, like if everyone else has their Greater Demons out and there's a lot of attack power flying around, like more attack power than cultists, I could see bringing them in just so you can go in and throw some attack dice around. But in a normal game, I think it's better just to go cultist and Mudman spam with Nurgle. Because all you gotta do is ruin, maybe be first place in like 2 of the big regions and pretty much close to winning, given all the other points. If you can dominate a couple of rounds, get the Nurgle free points upgrade, you're getting pretty close to 50.
What is the tokens that we start with when you do initial placement?
There's 2 noble tokens, 3 warp stone, 4 peasant.
Well, it was your that was your Slaanesh game where you had problems getting to the token.
Yeah, there was I know one game they were both like on the very far east ones. There was one that I think one game they were both here where there's just a shitload of people in those 2 regions and I couldn't establish anything, and then I couldn't get the old world card can affect that as well, but I couldn't get the dial advance to play some more noble tokens, and that was just a disaster.
I just couldn't remember. I couldn't remember if it was a Nurgle game or not that those tokens played a effect into somebody's loss. It wasn't mine. I can guarantee you that. If mine was running, don't run. Your cards will help you.
Okay, so boil down sweet strats for Nurgle. Use your cultists. Don't worry about that demon upgrade. Take the upgrade for 3 every time it ruins, and just spend your power on your cultists and throw some mud jabronis out there just to cause some trouble, I guess.
Yeah, go for the domination value.
I know probably her Nurgle's second best card is the one that your corruption counts for your domination value. Pretty huge. You can dominate a region without really having anybody there, just because if you have corruption stacked up.
Oh yeah.
That's a lot of. Usually those cards are worth 4 or 5 points just for playing the card.
Nurgle also has that card where it kills cultists and warriors for each one of
after the battle.
After the battle for how much.
It
is a good card, and it will help you against other people that are trying to Khorne that's trying to kill you, or people that are trying to get in on your corruption game.
Yeah, that one of the things you need to do with Nurgle is make yourself where you're not attractive to Khorne. Yeah. Just so you can get that corruption down.
Yeah, that's where once again the plus defense comes into play.
Yeah.
Usually Khorne is the most juicy target Nurgle's the most juicy target for Khorne usually, because all it should is one defense.
Yeah, and he's always in the populous.
Yep, he's always in the middle of the board. So use your defense, take your point upgrade, Bunch of bronies. Alright, Zinch.
The troll demon.
Love this guy. Almost won.
So the way you're getting your Zinch advancements is putting 2 corruption in a region that has either 2 warp stones or magic symbols. It can be a mix of both.
Don't forget the cards have magic symbols, including your other
other
players'
players.
cards. That works off them too.
So when you play Zinch, if you have teleport in your hand on that first round, throw Korn to Norska.
Or to the wolves. Throw his ass to the wolves.
Or put Slanesh on the other end of the board with
away from the noble token.
Yeah.
Putting Korn in Norska is hamstringing that player.
You basically completely deny his first tick if you do that. You severely hamstring him on the second turn.
Because unless someone goes over there, it's going to take him 3 rounds or 2 rounds to even get back to anything that's adjoining more than one spot.
He's got to waste his whole first round putting more dues to make a bridge to get back in the game.
This is the best because Zachary played Zinch and he got rolled bad. Peasants were rolling him.
Yeah.
His greater demon
Zinch is peasants.
Zinch is another power that you really don't get your greater demon unless you really just need some combat die. Because he's basically a 3-2 that does nothing else.
Yeah.
But unless you upgrade him.
Yeah, his upgrade isn't bad.
It's situational. If you're having trouble getting to the warp stones, or if they're just not getting the cards that will add magic symbols to the regions with warp stones, then his upgrade is 2 warp stones. I mean, it's worth 2 magic. So, but it's again very situational. I threw him out there, and in hindsight, I would not have, considering the way the board ended up with the warp stones, the cards I was able to draw.
The funny thing is that the game where I played as Zinch was the one time that we set Jeremy up for the Corrin point victory win. Everything was right. We denied him ticks, and then he decided to post up.
Yeah, and then your face was lighting up.
Yeah.
'Cause you had never played Zinch before that play, and man, it's like a match made in heaven. You were having so much goddamn fun. Screwing me out of my ticks, man. Like, you son of a bitch, but it's how you're supposed to play. Good
you're
show.
the only one that got consistent damage with your greater demon rolls.
Yeah.
No shit,
You
man.
finally got
You were
the
wrecking.
right hand.
My opening hand was 3 teleport cards, so I threw them all to Norska.
Yeah. Open around teleport.
And then all my cards came up just like aces. But I think I took the wrong upgrade card. I took the middle warrior card, which if you have it, your warriors can basically, if you summon them in a region, they can take over a card spot and only you can play there. I should have took that. In my situation, I don't think, actually, to tell you the truth, I don't think you should take that at all. The cultist, where you can move a warp stone, is good.
Yeah.
However, honestly, I think I didn't get to do it, and I'm just speaking out. I think the greater demon is actually a lot better because he's automatically 2 magic symbols.
Yeah.
You could put him in Norska where there's nothing and nobody's fighting. You throw 2 cultists there, that's a tick every round, and you can face the ruination.
If you're going for the dial win on Zinch, which is he's actually the easiest one to win on the second easiest win on the dial. You can actually do that to try to get that double tick if you got your cultists spread out too.
And I think if I had taken the double tick, or if I had taken the greater demon, I might have been able to do it because I was 1 tick away when Jeremy won from winning. And dial advancement happens before points.
Dial advancement was one of the last things.
Actually, you actually check dial advancement win conditions go off before point victory conditions. So if somebody wins on the dial, the same turn somebody gets 50 points, the person that won on the dial wins. You check that actually first before points.
If you're getting dial advancements, then you should take the cultist upgrades and take warp stones because your dial will have you placing warp stones.
That's what I'm saying. I'm kind of debating that. Because he automatically gives you 2 magic symbols and you can just set him some.
But then the place ruins. If the place ruined,
that's what I'm saying.
You can't magic him out of there because you can only teleport your cultist or warrior. So that's 3 to get him out.
Well, I understand that, but what I'm saying is that if you just put him somewhere where nobody is, like Norska, he can sit over there with 2 cultists. Is Korn going to go over there and move all the way over there? No, he might throw a card to do 2 damage, and hey, You're going to kill 2 cultists, so what? Throw 2 more there. He's got, the second most amount of cultists, right? Or he has the most. Zinch.
Zinch has the most, yeah.
So, as far as cultists go, it doesn't really matter.
Corn also has a teleport card.
Yeah, I mean, he
if he really wants to go over there and just wreck house.
I mean, and he might want to. And hey, you might lose him. But that you have, how many copies of cards in your hand? Yeah. How many copies of the cards are there in everybody's deck? Is it 4
of each?
And effectively, once that's gone, you know, I mean, I wish I had done that just to try that. I saw Zachary. I saw everybody else. They were taking the Warpstone thing, and by far that was good too. You know, moving the Warpstones. I think even Slanesh, that's one of her cards too for a cultist, right? Or somebody that they can take the noble tokens out. Mm-hmm. Since that's your DAW advancement, there's no way to say that's a bad idea. I think you have 2 ways to go depending on what it looks like.
Yeah, I'd say it definitely comes down to map placement with the warp stones initially. I mean, if they're already kind of on the outskirts, just hang out over there, stay in those areas, and then I'd say probably take the warpstone upgrade. So whenever you do decide to move out of there, if you have hung around long enough for it to ruin, you can bring your warpstones with you, not worry about trying to get those magic symbols.
Mm-hmm. The thing, and also the good thing about it is that especially for Zinch, is that what do you start with 7 power?
Everybody's at 6 except Korn. He's the only one that starts at 7.
Oh, okay. The cards that you play as Zinch, you can play a lot.
Yeah, they're cheap, but he has the only different draw condition where he only draws up to 5.
Oh yeah,
he never gets to draw more. You always draw up to 5.
So basically, you can always get rid of your entire hand.
Yeah,
every round.
You want to be playing cards with him. That's kind of a stall tactic too. To see what else everybody else is doing and then react.
Yeah, like Zinch is the best at avoiding combat. Like, I've had some games where Zinch never rolls a combat die the entire game and ends up winning or close to winning because he can deflect. He either plays cards that negate the opposing power card, it's huge. He has cards that make it more expensive for people to go there, which is gigantic. And he has cards that just teleport people away. Or just make it prohibitive to come in there.
Or teleport himself away.
So he can just sit there in a few regions, deflect combat, make it way more appealing to attack somebody else, and just farm points, or farm dial advancements. He's the best at just never rolling a combat die and winning the game.
He is so much fun, especially if you like to troll people. I can't tell you how good that was.
Yeah, playing against Zinch, every one of his cards pisses you off in some way. You're like, I just can't go to that zone now, or I'm way over here, or I can't do anything to that.
And you don't even have to be in the zone just to make it effectively help you.
Yeah.
You just throw the card over there. It takes up a spot. Only 2 cards can be played in the zone. It's great.
Yeah. Zinch's cards are awesome. Zinch is all about the chaos deck.
Did anybody ever take any other upgrades to him besides
the one I can even think of is the Warpstone one, the Cultist Warpstone.
Yeah, I was able to get 2 upgrades, I remember, on one of my plays, and it was Cultist first, and then again it was the Greater Demon upgrade, and I probably would have went with something else, but his choices aren't really all that appealing, honestly, on all his upgrades.
Yeah,
I mean, I didn't have any interest in blocking a card spot. It seems like it'd be so situational that you would want to actually reserve a spot for one of your cards,
Yeah.
But just get the Cultist and then whatever else you think might help you out, depending on the situation.
Yeah. Power probably really good with him.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with having more power. I mean,
yeah, that's true. You can never go wrong.
More options are always better.
Oh, so with my man Zinch, you can just straight laugh the entire game while you look at everybody else's face and be like, "What?"
Yeah, just have a good time to everyone else's chagrin.
And you have your Greater Demon out. Just imagine the old troll cartoon on his face walking around with the staff. That's what I did. Try to go for a dial win. Points you can get with him.
Yeah, because with that many cultists, you can definitely put some stress on Nurgle as far as the overall domination.
Yeah, Zinch is the one competitor that can consistently get more corruption out per turn than Nurgle can. And like we were saying, with Zinch and Slanesh, you can pretty easily maneuver between going for points or going for dial advancement.
All right. And now for our main man, Slanesh.
Or main woman.
No,
I don't know.
Our main demon, Slanesh.
7 and 70 name. We'll go with female.
I enjoyed playing her. I enjoyed playing the game that I played with her.
Slanesh is the ultimate brick wall, I think. For my strategy for Slanesh, I did read on Board Game Geek before I played her. And what the guy said was totally true. So it's 2 ticks to your first upgrade on her.
Yeah.
So for the first 2 rounds, I mean, if you can get double ticks on your first round, that's great. But you need to get to that upgrade to take your cultist upgrade, which is going to make your cultist defense 2 instead of 1. And then you can just go where you want, because if Korn comes for you, he's spending double his attack resources to kill your guys. Your Greater Demon has 4, the most defense out of anyone has 4. So you pay 3, and she's not moving. But once you get those first 2 dial advancements, if it's not easy to get the dial advancement, screw it. Because the rest of her cards may look appealing, but they are not necessary. Slaanesh is, unless you are getting easy dial advancements, you need to go for the point victory. And you need to watch where other people are going, ruining places of high value, dominating places. Using your card to move your noble, the noble and stuff is great, but you have to.
It just sound like it cheered you on.
You just got to go for the once you have the 2 ticks, forget your dial. Really, don't worry about it. You don't need your other upgrades. If you can get it, but don't worry about it.
I personally didn't have a hard time with dial event.
Yeah, I had shitty luck with Slaanesh, and I got from what Zach was saying, I got too caught up in trying to focus on the regions with Noble Token. I should have just said, fuck it, just spread out and do something else. But yeah, like I said, just getting that first upgrade, if you can get the 2 power upgrades, you can end up with the most power in the game, which is huge.
I did.
But it's pretty hard to get, and you're probably not getting the Cultist upgrade if you get it.
Yeah, I did.
I would almost say the Cultist upgrade is better. It's another way to deflect combat, like if you're not an appealing target for Khorne. Yeah. When I played Khorne, I just said I just totally ignored you and went on to slaughter Tzeentch and Nurgle, but
yeah. Well, in my landslide Slaanesh win, there was 2 noble tokens on the board at the beginning. They were in the border princes, and Estalia. So as soon as people started messing around somewhere else, and it was getting too crowded, all I did is focus on one of them to make sure I got my tick. Because to get the tick, you have to get 2 corruption in a spot with either a noble or a hero token. So get that tick. If you got to drop every cultist in there and every Robster Craw, which are her warriors, do it and get those first 2 ticks, and then you can move on and stop worrying about the nobles, because you can fortify anywhere on the board for nothing.
Something else about. Probably, we mentioned Khorne's Greater Demon being the best post-up Greater Demon. I think Slaanesh's is probably the second best post-up demon, because she has 4 defense, so she's basically not dying in combat. So you can just put her in the biggest region you need and just be able to throw some weight around.
That's what happened. Yeah, that's what happened in our game. I think we had Khorne's demon and mine in the Empire.
Yeah.
And basically, if those are the only 2 there, your demon can't kill Khorne's demon, and Khorne's demon has to roll perfect to kill yours or explode.
Yeah. Now, whenever I played Slaanesh, I didn't really have a sound strategy. She seems kind of reactionary unless you're going for that, that turtle defense. But I ended up getting the 2 power upgrades because they combo to get essentially 9 power. Yeah. And that's a hell of a lot. That gives you a lot of flexibility on what you're going to do. I mean, if you need to abandon a zone and go somewhere else because Khorne came rolling in, or you see something's about to ruin, now that someone stacked up some cultists, you can try and get in there and hopefully take majority and get those domination points. But yeah, the cultist upgrade is huge. I mean, it's only 1 defense, but that's double defense, and you're definitely pushing your focus away to somebody else if Khorne comes rolling.
Yeah. Another thing that I found when I was playing is delaying. You're the last to go. Keep delaying putting your guys on the board.
Yeah.
Because then when everyone's power is gone, then you can make the decision of where to go. You can decide, Khorne only has 2 guys here. Well, my cultists have 2 defense, so he'll never be able to take out all of them. That's basically all. Slaanesh was my favorite, really, because it seemed like she was getting dogged on the whole time.
Yeah, after a win like that, I should probably pick a favorite too, because we did not see it coming.
No.
You did not seem like you were going to run away with the win like you did.
That was a literal 30-point round.
Yeah, it was 3-round game with the Slaanesh win. And the funny thing is, we were talking about this earlier. I forgot who did it. Someone left my cultist alive somewhere because they felt bad.
It was Matt.
For
Yeah,
Slanesh.
because at the time, Slanesh, you were like at the end of round 2 or something. You were in last place, and these guys were doing well. It was like, Zach had shitty luck last game. That was like after the really shitty corn game where like he didn't get anything really. So I was like, I'll let Zach live. I don't think he's going to come back in this game. And that was a fatal mistake.
Yeah.
So he got the cultist upgrade, so then I couldn't kill his shit, and then he just fucking ran away with it.
Man, it's kind of funny because I think
Sweet Strats show no mercy in chaos.
I think we did that in Manhattan Project 2. We like somebody had a bad round and we were easy on them. They came out for the win. So sometimes our Sweet Strats are tainted by be merciful.
Show no mercy.
What'd you get for being a good person at your core?
Yeah.
The loss.
Well,
bringing people we hate.
I guess as far as just general strategy for the game, I would say if you can't find anything else, try to find some way to deny a dial advancement someone.
Mm-hmm.
Kill, if you are like, what do I do? Well, get one of those cultists killed in a spot where you need 2 corruption to get a tick.
Yeah, a lot of times, I've done this a lot, to where I just get the bare minimum to get advanced and just try and max out elsewhere and just hope that nobody sees it sometimes.
Yeah.
And so if everyone's paying attention and realizing that you can deny a tick just by killing one cultist, you're going a long way to slowing somebody down.
Yeah, denying ticks are...
I would say my biggest general strat, especially for if you just start playing this game, is when a region is about to ruin, do everything you can to try to get in on that. Even if you drop 1 corruption on the turn it ruins, you get free points. It starts out at 3 and then goes up to 5 at the end of the game.
But don't you have to, in order to get those points, you have to drop it?
Yeah, if you drop corruption at any point during the turn it ruins, even that's with Slanesh is the best at doing that because she has that free card that just drops 1 corruption anywhere. So that's a lot of points you can get just for being, and you never know. Like you could end up being the second most corruption just by dropping 1 corruption in a region.
Yeah.
If no one else has gone to that region, you get in there for 1 corruption and score the second most points, in addition to the bonus ruining points. So that's a lot of points. You just can kind of watch where regions are going to ruin.
I think the best thing I can say is don't run. Fight.
Yeah, don't be afraid of conflict.
Yeah,
Because it's the exact same cost to place out a new unit as it is to move the one you just ran away from.
Yeah, that's something that I screwed up a few times. Is I pay to move the unit and I have some in my bank.
Yeah. That's one of the biggest things. Like for new players to play this, and it took us a game to wrap our mind around it. Is that there really isn't any moving in this game. It's all summoning. So it's all based on how much the shit costs, really, when you evaluate this item.
Mm-hmm.
You should never look at it as a movement. You should always look at it as summon. If you can do that, you're going a long way to getting better at the game.
All right. Final thoughts?
Stand your ground. George Zimmerman style.
I'd say more than a lot of other games, you definitely have to keep an eye on what other players are doing. And you have to point that out to the other people at the table because you can't be the only person trying to deny other people running away with it. You got to be able to say, look, he is about to get a lot of points here. Yeah. You've got to be able to make a temporary alliance to say, it might not benefit you much, but you're definitely going to be having to hinder the other players, or they're going to pull a Zach and run away with 30 points in a round if you're not paying attention.
Oh, and count corruption every round.
Oh, yeah.
And remember, Warpstone tokens count for corruption.
Yeah.
Oh, and also take advantage of like peacetime cards that come out where it's like that's how Slanesh I got that win so fast is a card came out there was only one thing
one battle die being rolled in a region.
Like I was banking on going in there and just wrecking shop with all my shit, and then all of a sudden I couldn't because there was only one
forgot about
max
that
one die. Even if I didn't forget about it, there was nothing I could do to stop that Slanesh ruining that region really.
Always play off the old world cards. Pay attention to what they are. Don't forget, don't leave your one guy to be killed by the hero if you can stop it.
This is one of the few games. I say things. It's all for every game, but information is highly valuable. It's highly valuable. All cards that's been played, all cards that are active, every token that is on the board, placed by other people. Make sure you know it all.
Yeah, you got to be paying attention to a lot of moving parts of the game, or there's going to be some big moves that you don't see. You could have prevented had you paid more attention.
Mm-hmm. Or just troll the hell out of people and laugh.
If you're playing Zeke, troll people.
You can win. I almost did.
All right. Well,
all in all, definitely play.
Yeah, one of my favorites. Definitely, Sweet Strat played this game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as far as area control, it's hard to say it gets much better. I mean, this is the flavor that it has, the asymmetry, but how well balanced things really are. I mean,
one additional Sweet Strat. I would not recommend playing it less than the full 4.
Oh, definitely,
because they each balance each other out very well. But I've seen some 3-player games that play very awkwardly. Chaos.
Yeah, I think it's all us. We haven't played with the expansion, so we obviously can't. But isn't it the Horned Rat goes last after? So he would be entirely last.
He functions he doesn't drop corruption. He functions very differently, and there's like optional chaos cards and upgrade cards that completely change the way you play.
So maybe we'll come back one day with that, but it isn't going to be anytime soon.
All right. Well, is that it?
Well, no. I mean, obviously you're listening to us. We're 7 weeks late. If you first started listening to us, which probably isn't very many people, but if you're picking back up on the episodes, we were trying to do 2 a month, and schedules changed, and now we're shooting for once a month. A couple of us, we're adding segments. We're going to try to add some more segments to it, but essentially, this show is always going to be strategies for the game, for everybody to maybe help you jump in and play and win. For our next episode, we're going to try to do something different. It has a lot of timing issues. What our plans are is to basically get a copy of Pandemic Legacy.
So we're doing a spook show.
Well,
I'm down with the spook show.
Well, we're going to do the spook show. I thought we were doing the spook show too. But
so we're going to go Cthulhu Realms and...
that's what... Okay. No, it's fine. Because this is what I thought we were doing. If Pandemic... Okay. Pandemic Legacy is supposed to...
Start the thought again.
No, it's fine. This can all be in here. Pandemic Legacy is supposed to come out on the 6th of October. We're sitting here at the 3rd. So I don't know exactly when this show's going to be up. Hopefully before the 6th, but maybe not. Anyway, so if Pandemic Legacy comes out, we're going to get it. We're going to play, starting this month, 3 to 4 games, and we're going to update you for half the show on how our play is going. And then at the end, when we finish Pandemic Legacy, we're going to do one show entirely devoted to it, because it's 12 to 24 games, and there's going to be a talk about. As we do this, we're going to add other sweet strategies for games that take like an hour, hour and a half, something like that. So our initial thought is Pandemic Legacy, and then we're going to do Cthulhu Realms and Run, Fight, or Die. Now, with all that being said, if Pandemic Legacy doesn't come out within the first couple of weeks of October, we're going to go ahead and do Cthulhu Realms, Run, Fight, or Die, and Ghost Stories. Which, I got to tell you folks, I am extremely excited to play Ghost Stories and talk about it on here because we've never won. I love that game.
That's one of our gateway games.
Yeah. And it kicks me in the teeth every time we play. And we haven't done a cooperative game yet. So, until next time, keep listening and give us a shout out at sweetstrats.com. Oh, website's coming. Videos are coming. There's one video up now, but it's about a Telestrations game, which you can find on YouTube at Nick Arrested. If you type in what PBBGG plays Telestrations, I think you'll find it. That's our board game group name. Anyways, until next time, I'm Harley. Zach.
Jeremy.
Matt.
Sweet Strats out.
Sweet Strats. Sweet Strats. Are you gaming with me? Sweet Strats. Sweet Strats. Are you gaming with me? Are you gaming with me?